Do you know that the average marathoner runs at 6 miles an hour, whereas elite runs can clock 13 miles an hour over the entire distance? That's more than twice as fast. But what if I told you that you don't need elite genetics to run faster? You just need science. Whether you're going in for a 5K or building up to a marathon, I'm going to give you a step-by-step guide through the basics so that you can run stronger, longer, and smarter at any distance. And so for those of you who are new here, I'm Russ, 2:43 marathon runner, and hopefully soon to be a 2:39 marathon runner. You can check out how my training's going on Strava because I'm working towards the Gold Coast and Sydney marathons in July and August of this year. So by the end of this video, you'll understand how to build aerobic fitness and strength, that training smarter, not harder, is vital, the importance of fueling and recovery, and how your form and biomechanics can give you the edge. I'm breaking down what science has found are the easiest ways to speed up your running so you can get that PR by running faster for longer. Build aerobic fitness first. So it's important to recognize that aerobic fitness is the foundation of long distance running. So starting with the 5K all the way up to the marathon, we're not talking about sprinting like the 100 meters here. That's where everyone's anaerobic system has got the ability to see them across that distance as fast as possible. But as we progress through the distances from middle distance to long distance, so 1500 meters, 5K, all the way up to the marathon, that's where the aerobic system becomes more and more important. Therefore, it's essential for us to improve our aerobic efficiency first. And the easiest way to do that is by jogging, focusing on consistent and conversational, easy-paced running, and increasing this week by around 10%. And that will give our body enough time to adapt to the stress that we're putting it under without it breaking down. Once we have that base level of aerobic fitness locked in, then it's time to start to introduce speed training. And you'll need to have a bigger focus on speed the shorter the distance that you run. But speed work is essential at all distances, all the way up to marathon pace. Build strength. So at the same time as you're building your aerobic fitness, it's also vital to start building your strength. And the science has shown us that there are some areas that are more important to focus on than others when it comes to our strength training. Strengthening your legs and core are key. So squats, lunges, deadlifts, they're all incredible exercises that you want to be mastering. But remember that running is a single-legged sport. So you want to be focusing on that single leg variations of each one of those. Because at no point when you're running will you ever have 2 feet on the ground at the same time. Now, if strength training isn't your thing and you really can't bring yourself to do it, I myself personally, I've said many times, really struggle with it, but I force myself to do it. Don't forget that you can get some free strength training from utilizing hills, but don't expect the same level of results. Because the science has given us a hack and proven that the heavier, shorter reps of between 6 to 8, that will give you your best bang for your buck when it comes to strength training. Train smarter, not just more. So running more will naturally make you faster. But if you want to get faster quicker, then you need to utilize the science and train smarter. So jogging, as we spoke about earlier, that's a fantastic way to build that aerobic fitness. But if you want to get the most out of your training, you need to follow what's called a polarized program. And the best bang for your buck in that sense is something called a pyramidal program. And I've got a video here that goes into much more detail, but essentially jogging mostly with some faster sessions thrown in. Now, again, science has shown us that there is an 80-20 rule of slow versus fast running, and that is the most efficient. So even though the majority of your running is going to be slow, you do have to push your body for it to learn and adapt. So conducting those fast sessions at full all-out effort is super important. Now, we typically call these a VO2 max session, as that's where its aim is to actually increase your VO2 max level. And that's a key indicator to performance. And a great example of a session is building up to, let's say, between 6 and 8 1 kilometer repeats, at about 95% of your maximum effort for that distance. Bear in mind that you're going to do 6 to 8 of them. So you can start with a 2-minute recovery between each one, then drop it down to 1 minute over the course of a few months and see how much quicker you're getting. Train your mind. Now, it's easy to focus on the physical side of running, but it's also really important to learn to overcome the mental barriers and train your mind as much as your body. Your mind's often the first thing to stop you from pushing that little bit harder to achieve your next PR, with your body still having enough to be able to get you there. So if you can overcome those mental barriers, your body will be able to follow. Now, a great way to do that is by entering races. It's a great way to put your mind to the test. Now, as many as you can within reason, so that you familiarize yourself with the process, the environment, and don't become overwhelmed when it really, really matters. But it's also the time where you're going to be able to push yourself the hardest and find yourself in that pain cave. The more time you spend racing, the better you'll get at understanding your limitations and how much you can push. And then when it comes to your training, joining your local running club, getting that camaraderie, motivation, it's a great way to remain motivated. It can be easy to pull the pin on your next session, but having others that are there to hold you accountable and to look forward to meeting up with, that will help you get out the door. And then lastly, and my favorite way to make those longer sessions easier, is to listen to music or a podcast. Treat yourself to a smartwatch, Bluetooth headphones. Trust me, you will not regret it. Before we go into nutrition and recovery, please can I ask that you like and subscribe if you're finding this useful. You can also follow me on Strava to check out how I'm structuring my training ahead of the Gold Coast and Sydney marathons. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments about topics that you'd like me to cover in some of my next videos. Okay, so nutrition and recovery. Now, they're just as important as the physical training itself, and elite runners put just as much emphasis on their nutrition and recovery as they do their next big training session. So the two main food groups that you want to focus on getting enough of as runners is protein and carbohydrates. Protein supports muscle repair and adaptation, which is really important to build strength and prevent injury. Carbohydrates, they're the primary fuel source that we're putting into our body. So you've got to make sure that you've got enough in the tank for your next big session. Here's what the science has taught us of the typical amounts of protein and carbohydrates that we need to be taking in as beginner to sub-elite runners. Beginners, we need to be taking in at least 50 grams per pound of body weight, or about 1 gram per kilogram of body weight. So for a beginner at the 175 pound or 80 kilogram mark, you're looking at around 3 ounces or 85 grams per day as a minimum. If you're heavier, you'll need to take a bit more, lighter, a bit less. And of course, the faster that you're running, the more strain you're putting on your body. So you'll need more the faster that you're getting. And the same goes for carbohydrates. The heavier you are and the faster that you are, the more you'll need to consume. And the science has taught us that beginners at that 175 pound or 80 kilogram mark will need about 2 grams per pound or about 4 grams per kilogram of body weight. So you're looking at something in the region of 8 to 14 ounces or 3 to 400 grams of carbohydrates per day to ensure that your body is optimally fueled. However, when we sweat, we also use up something called electrolytes. Now, science has taught us that the likes of potassium, magnesium, sodium, they're all critical. So if you see things like salt rings, so sodium rings on your clothes or drying on your skin after a big session, that's a clear sign that you're quite a heavy sweater and that you'll need to be supplementing with higher levels of salt. And if you're really dedicated enough, you can actually go to sports science professionals to test your sweat and establish exactly what you're losing during exercise and how much you need to replace it with. And then sleep. So sleep is pretty much the number one factor in how well you recover. 7 to 9 hours is crucial to allow your body to repair and achieve that maximum gain possible from your training. I often hear, I get by great on 5 or 6 hours a night. Now, my answer to that is simple. Imagine how much better it could be if you were getting 7, 8, 9 hours. Active recovery and rest days also play a really important part in your recovery to give your body that break that it needs to fully recover. Check out this video that goes into much more detail about how best to recover. Now, the last science hack in your nutrition and recovery effort is the use of supplements. So, caffeine's been proven to help enhance endurance, effort, and focus. Whereas something like creatine, that's also been proven to help with strength training, especially allowing us to lift heavier and recover faster. And then you've got the basics like taking a multivitamin, and that will ensure that you're covering all bases for your body's needs is really important too. Work on your form and your biomechanics. So perfecting your running form efficiently is the last major scientifically proven way to get you running faster for longer. Now, the two main factors that are the most common causes of inefficient movement, increased injury, and poor performance are overstriding and vertical oscillation. So overstriding is when your foot lands too far in front of your center of mass, and usually that's with a heel strike, and it acts like a braking force on every step and it slows you down, especially over those longer distances. It really builds up. And then the next one is vertical oscillation, and that's when your body or your center of mass moves up and down with each step or bouncing. So too much energy is going up, and that's wasting energy instead of going forward. Now, luckily, the easiest way to fix both of these is to work on your cadence, and that's how many steps you are taking per minute. So how long or short your legs are does make a small difference, but science has basically taught us that the most of us should be aiming between 175 to 185 steps a minute. And you want to be towards that higher end of the range if you're smaller, and the lower end of the range if you're taller. What we've gone over so far are the real basics of how you can get faster as a runner. Now, there's plenty more videos on my channel where I break down the hottest topics in running, which you can see here. And if you've made it this far, you'll have got plenty of value out of the video, so please make sure you like and subscribe. Ta-ra!